Okay, first of all, I met Scott Peterson November 20th, 2002.
Directly to the killer, who may be in this room.
I'm going to turn now to that new charge for the so-called doomsday mom, Lori Vallow. Already charged in the killing of her two children, she is now being indicted for conspiracy to commit murder.
A violation of Penal Code Section 187 Prene, murder in the first degree. How do you plead?
Guilty.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lauren, and I am your host of True Crime Headlines, a weekly podcast bringing you this week's biggest headlines in the true crime world. This is week 32 of 2021, and let's just jump right into it, shall we? First up, we have Scott Peterson set to testify in Kristen Smart slaying case. This is from the New York Post. And my very first thought is, what does Scott Peterson, convicted killer of his pregnant wife Lacey Peterson, have to do with the Kristen Smart case? Well, the article says that Scott Peterson is expected to be called to the witness stand at a pretrial hearing in California. Peterson apparently knew Kristen Smart when they were both students at California Polytechnic University. A defense lawyer for the suspects in the Smart's 1996 disappearance want to grill him about it. Lawyers for Paul Flores, age 44, and his father, Ruben Flores, who are charged with murder in Smart's case, want to question Peterson as part of an assertion that cops failed to consider other possible suspects in the case. Peterson, who met his wife that he murdered at Cal Poly, was floated as a potential suspect in Smart's case before, when his name surfaced in the case in 2003. While Flores' attorney alleged that Peterson and Smart were at the same party before her disappearance, and legal experts reportedly said the defense team has not yet been able to produce any evidence linking Peterson to Smart's disappearance. So, apparently they think Scott Peterson may have had something to do with Kristen Smart's murder. Just a little background. Kristen Smart was last seen with Paul Flores while walking home from a party on May 25, 1996. They were both freshmen. When the party ended around 2:30 a.m., Flores walked with Smart, who was intoxicated, and one of Smart's friends back towards Smart's dorm room. Prosecutors say Flores killed Smart after trying to rape her in his dorm room. The case went cold for more than 2 decades, but investigators searched Flores' home last year and arrested him in April. Prosecutors have also alleged that Ruben Flores, Paul's father, helped his son bury Smart's body in the backyard. They claim that blood was discovered under Ruben Flores' deck in an area where soil had been recently disturbed. This is a developing story, so hopefully I will have more to add later this week. And guess what? I do. There's already a new development. I've come across an article from the LA Times that says bringing in Peterson to testify in the case is a publicity stunt on the part of the Flores' defense team. An attorney for Peterson, now serving a life sentence in San Quentin after being found guilty in the 2002 murder of his wife Lacey and their unborn child Connor, said no efforts have been made to have his client testify and called statements by Flores' defense team a publicity stunt. Having Peterson's name mentioned in the Smart case shows the desperation of Flores' defense team, said Pat Harris, Peterson's longtime lawyer. I think it was more of a publicity stunt to take the attention away from the defendant, Harris said. I spoke to San Quentin and to Scott, and there's been no subpoena or any arrangements made for his testimony. The whole thing is ridiculous, but just shows you the extent of the demonization of Scott. If they are desperate enough to think they need to use his name, it does not bode well for his defense. Well, maybe Scott Peterson won't be testifying in this case, but it's a pretty interesting publicity stunt, if that's what it is. Okay, and on to our second story of true crime headlines this week. According to the Associated Press, a crime historian conducts a dig for D.B. Cooper evidence. Nearly 50 years after skyjacker D.B. Cooper vanished out of the back of a Boeing 727 into freezing northwest rain, wearing a business suit, a parachute, and a pack with $200,000 in cash, a crime historian is conducting a dig on the banks of the Columbia River in Vancouver, Washington, in search of evidence. Eric Eulis, a self-described expert on the infamous D.B. Cooper case, began a 2-day dig last Friday. Eulis and 4 volunteers are searching for evidence about 10 to 15 yards away from where a boy found $6,000 of Cooper's ransom money in 1980. Eulis said his theory is that Cooper buried the parachute, an attaché case, and the money at the same time, but dug smaller holes instead of one large one. The case of Cooper has become infamous not only in the Pacific Northwest, but also in the entire country. The FBI Seattle field office called the investigation one of the longest and most exhausting in the agency's history. Moving along, how about a Georgia basketball coach charged with murder in overheating death of teen athlete? A grand jury has indicted 2 basketball coaches for their alleged role in the 2019 death of a Georgia teen who died from heat stroke after taking part in mandatory workout drills which were held outside in the extreme heat. Imani Bell, 16, collapsed on August 13, 2019, after scaling the steps of the football stadium during her basketball team's conditioning drills at Elite Scholars Academy in Jonesboro. On that day, temperatures in the region reached 98 degrees. Last month, La Rosa Maria Walker Askiri and Dwight Broom Palmer were both charged by a grand jury with second-degree murder, second-degree cruelty to children, involuntary manslaughter, and reckless conduct, People confirms through online records. A copy of the indictment obtained by People magazine reveals that grand jurors determined the 2 defendants caused, quote, excessive physical pain by conducting outdoor conditioning training for student athletes in dangerous heat, resulting in Bell's tragic death. Okay, so technically this is from last week from People.com. Chad Daybell, Lori Vallow's husband, we all know who Lori Vallow is, who's charged with murder, should get the death penalty, prosecutors say. Prosecutors in Idaho are seeking the death penalty against Chad Daybell, the religious doomsday author accused of murdering his stepchildren and his ex-wife. Now we all know that in May, Daybell and his wife, Lori Vallow, a.k.a. Doomsday Mom, were indicted on charges of conspiracy to commit murder and first-degree murder in the connection with the death of Vallow's 2 children, Joshua, a.k.a. J.J. Vallow, and Tylee Ryan. Daybell is also charged with murder in the 2019 death of his first wife, Tammy. Daybell also charged with 2 counts of insurance fraud related to life insurance policies he had on her. Madison County Prosecuting Attorney Rob Wood and Fremont County Prosecuting Attorney Lindsay Blake filed their notice of intent to seek the death penalty last Thursday. Our process in making this determination was lengthy and comprehensive, they wrote in a joint statement obtained by People magazine. We conferred with those immediate family members of J.J. Vallow, Tylee Ryan, and Tammy Daybell, who have indicated a willingness to speak with us and allowed them an opportunity to provide their input if they wish to do so. The ultimate decision to seek capital punishment rests with the state, and after completing the entire process, we determined that the nature and magnitude of these crimes warrant the possibility of the highest possible punishment. Well, I think that kind of puts a damper on their belief that they're the chosen ones who lead, I don't know, however many people into heaven or whatever those nut jobs believed in. But that's not it for the Daybells this week. New counsel joins Lori Vallow Daybell's legal team, according to KPVI News. Judge Stephen Boyce has appointed Jim Archibald as co-counsel to Vallow's attorney, Mark Means. Archibald is one of the few death penalty certified attorneys in eastern Idaho. He has represented several high-profile clients, with most of his recent clients being Brian Lee Drips, who is charged with the 1996 rape and murder of Angie Dodge in Idaho Falls. Does this mean that the state is possibly planning on going for the death penalty for Lori Vallow as well? I don't know. It kind of seems that way. But Lori's case is currently on hold as she undergoes treatment to be restored to mental competency for trial. And we're back, and our next true crime headline comes from TMZ, of course. Mama June's boyfriend, Gino, gets 16 months in crack cocaine case. You guys remember Mama June, right? She was Honey Boo Boo's mom. According to new legal documents obtained by TMZ, Mama June, whose real name is June Shannon, her boyfriend, Gino Doak, was sentenced to 16 months in Macon Community Corrections after copping a plea deal. We're told that while Gino is registered as an inmate, he will not be physically behind bars, but has a set of rules to follow. If he messes up, he'll be locked up. So I find this headline a little misleading. He's getting 16 months of what? A certain set of rules? Okay. TMZ article goes on to say that Mama June and Gino were both busted outside an Alabama gas station back in March of 2019 and charged with felony drug possession and misdemeanor unlawful possession of drug paraphernalia. The drug paraphernalia charge was dismissed as part of the deal. According to the documents, Gino will be placed on probation for 2 years after he serves his 16 months of nothing, and also has to complete a substance abuse evaluation and treatment as part of the deal. While Gino's doing hard time, Mama June isn't. She previously pled not guilty and was sentenced to 100 hours of community service and agreed to a bunch of provisions to avoid prison time, including staying sober. So, hard time, but not in jail. I'm a little confused on that one, but let's keep moving forward here. Last but certainly not least, R. Kelly's sex trafficking trial began this week. At the time of this recording, the jury has been selected to weigh sex trafficking charges against R. Kelly, who faces multiple allegations that he sexually abused women and girls for decades. Brooklyn federal judge Ann Donnelly swore in a 12-person panel, 7 men and 5 women, after they were selected. There are also 6 alternate jurors. The jurors will remain anonymous and partially sequestered during the trial, meaning they will be escorted to and from the courthouse each day by U.S. Marshals. Opening statements are slated to begin next Wednesday, with the trial expected to last a month. The 54-year-old R&B crooner, whose real name is Robert Sylvester Kelly, is accused of enlisting help from his employees to lure women and girls to have sex with him, with some victims allegedly traveling from out of state to be with him. The I Believe I Can Fly singer also faces allegations that he and others conspired to create a fake ID for Aaliyah, the singer who died in a plane crash at age 22 in 2001. He is accused of abusing her while she was underage and planned to marry her so that she couldn't testify against him, prosecutors say. Kelly, who's been behind bars both in Chicago and in Brooklyn since his arrest in 2019, has denied charges, claiming that the relationships were consensual ones with groupies. He also faces separate criminal cases in Minnesota and Illinois for alleged sex crimes. But wait, there's more. On lawandcrime.com, we have a headline that screams, R. Kelly tries to dismiss charges in advance of trial, arguing herpes does not count as acute bacterial venereal disease under public health law. Okay, so let's break this down. Let's see what this is about. R. Kelly moved to dismiss charges in his criminal indictment, accusing him of knowingly transmitting herpes to his alleged victims. His attorneys argue that the virus does not fall under the public health law's definition of an acute bacterial venereal disease. To allow the government to move forward with those counts would be to allow a clear mischaracterization and interpretation of the application of the statute, considering the statute clearly does not incorporate herpes. The singer's lawyer, Thomas A. Farinella, wrote in a 13-page memo supporting his motion to dismiss on Monday. It is unequivocal that this law is passed to prevent exposure to an acute bacterial venereal disease such as syphilis or gonorrhea and not herpes, he added, emphasizing the words. The motion to dismiss quotes the New York State's Department of Health's history of the public health law passed in 1943 to prevent the spread of disease such as syphilis and gonorrhea to members of the military during World War II. Okay, I see. So because the actual law uses the language acute bacterial venereal disease, and herpes is technically a virus, not a bacterial disease, the charges should be dropped. Well, maybe it's time to update these statutes, yeah? And that's it for this week's True Crime Headlines. I'll be coming at you next week, next Friday. And do me a huge favor, hit that subscribe button and rate and review the show. I know this is the first episode, but that really helps us branch out and reach a wider audience. And if you have any headlines that you think should be included in this show, go ahead and email those to palmahawkmedia@gmail.com. And everyone, have a good week. Be safe. Signing out.